Hi, welcome to Wetpixel Live. My name is Adam Hanlon. I'm the editor of Wetpixel, and I'm joined today by a regular contributor, Alex Mustard. Hi, Alex.
Hi, Adam. Good to see you. It's been a little while.
It has, yeah. We've had a bit of a break. You've been away and been diving, you lucky person, you.
Yeah. I think it's actually the most, or the only in sort of relatively intensive period of diving I've managed since March. You know, I've managed to kind of, once the first lockdown in the UK finished and we were able to start diving, kind of in July and August, I managed to go diving sort of once a week, but never really managed to dive day after day.
Yeah.
Actually had quite a few big gaps in diving. I think I did sort of 2 dives in 2 months at one point. So it was actually really nice to go up to Scotland. We went up for half term from school with Isa, and I got a few dives in on that trip. And then I went back the following week to run a mini workshop, limited to just sort of 4 households. So it wasn't sort of lots of us, but really enjoyed running a workshop. Again, I think one thing it reminded me of is how enjoyable it is to be not just diving with a group of photographers, but all working together to improve your pictures.
Yeah.
And we were up in the far northwest of Scotland in a place called Kinloch Burvey, which is, if you've seen a drawing of the UK, it's the very top northwest corner. It's really a very long way from here, but yeah. You know, a wild and rugged place. But yeah, really, really enjoyable. It's got some incredible diving up there. We weren't that lucky with the weather, so we weren't able to get onto the best sites, but we were really happy just to be diving every day. We didn't miss a dive because of weather. You know, in November in the UK, that's pretty good going.
Yeah, amazing. Well, and Scotland too. I mean, it could be pretty wild up there. So yeah.
But yeah, for me, it was the real enjoyment was just to be with a group of photographers, all of whom were there working together, sharing ideas. People were, here are the shots I took today. Because of social distancing, we didn't collect the pictures up. We actually just sat in opposite corners of the room and turned our laptops around and go, here are my shots from today. It was kind of all a bit different.
Yeah,
but it was, it was just really nice as people were sharing ideas, going back in the next day, you know, trying ideas you'd seen from each other. And then obviously my role as teaching the workshop was to talk about the techniques we could use with the subjects we were seeing. So as a teaching experience, it was really enjoyable. And as a learning experience, it was really productive. We were just a bit frustrated by the weather. We didn't get to the really spectacular diving that they've got in that part of Scotland. We were just diving in the sea locks, which are subject rich, but not as spectacular.
Well, I mean, I think at the moment, given the way the world is, any time you spend underwater is a bit of a bonus, really. And
actually the trip started before the New England lockdown came in, and there's obviously not a lockdown in Scotland. So we were actually in this strange position that, you know, I had to come home because I've got family, but you know, there was this tantalizing thing. You could stay up in Scotland and carry on being free, or you could drive home and have to go into lockdown. So it was kind of strange to drive home into lockdown. But really, I'm really happy I got some dives in, and it was lots of decent subjects to shoot. So really enjoyable.
Great. Well, and since you've been back, there have been some fairly important announcements in the underwater imaging community. And obviously the most important and most pressing question right now is who's going to win UPY? That's the obvious question. It's the one that everyone wants to know.
Well, the person who took the best picture is going to win, as every year. I have to say, we do go into the judging with very open minds. Yeah. And I know you've done, you know, a lot of competition judging as well. And I think the moment you sort of go in with any preconception, you just paint yourself into a corner. Yeah. And I think one of the things I'm always really proud of with the UPY winning collection is it's very diverse. Yeah. We're very open to all styles of underwater photography, including, you know, styles and things that, you know, personally we would never want to do ourselves. I think it's, you know, it's about celebrating underwater photography in all its forms. It's not a nature photography competition. It's not even an ocean photography competition, or we have swimming pool shots, we have studio shots, we have rivers, we have lakes, you know, anything. We have rock pooling shots, you know, and I think that's really, and anything that classifies as part of underwater photography is part of UPY, and I think that's something I really enjoy about it. So we try and go in with a really open mind.
I think that shows. I think the press release, certainly with the images that from the winning entries, some of the winning entries from last year, you know, there was that incredibly kind of stylistic picture with the coral with the silhouette generated Photoshop, all the way through to obviously the amazing picture of the seals on the ice floe that won it. And, you know, you've got a huge range of different photographic techniques and styles and that. And I thought it was really cool, actually. I thought it was a really nice
Yeah,
selection of images.
and I mean, last year our overall winner, was kind of quite pure natural history, but we've had rec shot overall winners in the past. So it's open to all.
Yeah.
But I think actually we spend as much time crafting the winning collection as we do picking the overall winners from that. It's it's very much about creating this showcase of what underwater photography can be. And anyone who's thinking of entering, we'd really encourage you to enter stuff that reminds people how broad underwater photography is. I think that's one of the remits of the competition, is to celebrate underwater photography in all its forms. And it does cause, some consternation. There's certainly many out there who believe underwater photography is natural history photography. And I think you have to remind them that, you want to put a model in a dress and hang them upside down in a swimming pool. That's still underwater photography.
Absolutely,
and, you've got to judge that against someone who's been out in the field, photographing, microscopic invertebrate behavior. So that's really interesting. I think the area that, it has been up in the air this year, and I know you and I have talked about this, not on Wetpixel Live, but just as friends, is, whether we should be running competitions at the moment, whether competitions, maybe should take a break, because a lot of people have been taking a break from diving and photography. But certainly we felt with UPY that as long as we were able to run it, we should run it. I think it's something that people were, like with a lot of the major competitions, it's something that people were really looking forward to, whether they're entrants wanting to measure up the pictures they've got again, have another chance to do well, or whether they're just simply keen underwater photographers looking forward to seeing an inspirational collection of images. Those are strong motivating factors. People are very used to where it sits in the calendar now, and we were keen to sort of, to carry on. We're well aware that we may well get considerably less entries than normal because people haven't dived as much. But that's not true across the board. Actually, if I look down my Facebook feed at the moment, I've got, friends out diving in quite a lot of places. Not necessarily English friends, because we're not allowed to leave our houses. But, the rules are different around the world. So people are traveling, countries are open, lots of people going to Mexico and Galapagos and diving there. Lots of people diving closer to home. Although we're not really, we're not able to do a lot of that diving in England at the moment anyway. But yeah, even within our country, it's different. In Scotland, you're still able to go diving and go out on dive boats and things like that, and stay over to diving. Yeah,
that's an interesting point, Alex, because you mentioned diving close to home. So I think one of the changes for this year is that you have a close to home category, don't you? So that's an interesting idea. How are you planning to administer that? How's that going to work?
Yeah, so actually, to answer the nuts and bolts, we've introduced a new category called it's not actually a category, it's a special award called the My Backyard Award. But what we want to do with it is we want to highlight in our yearbook all the pictures that are taken close to where a photographer lives. There can be a little bit of a misconception sometimes that underwater photography is intrinsically linked with sort of long haul travel. And yes, we have plenty of winners that have been taken by photographers going to, extraordinary places to take those pictures. But we also every year have plenty of category winners that people have taken close to home. And it's not that just because it's in your own country, it's close to home. My Scotland trip would not count as a My Backyard picture. However, I think we wanted to celebrate that in underwater photography. So the aim is to highlight any pictures that are winners in our competition as My Backyard pictures, and then the best of those give a special award to, just to really highlight that, to give it a bit more prominence in our collection. And we think that's a really nice message to be sending out at this time when people maybe aren't able to travel, to reassure people. Now, in terms of the nuts and bolts of how it works, every image you enter into UPY, you'll have a checkbox next to the entry that you can click, is this an image suitable for my backyard? So that will flag it up in our entry system that it's a my backyard image. Now, the way we've defined it is it's a picture that's taken close to home, with limited mileage from where you live. So, people will understand. So that doesn't mean driving across your own country to go diving. It certainly doesn't mean jumping on an aeroplane to go diving. There will be some people in the world that maybe do not have an underwater photography opportunity in their backyard. But given that we allow swimming pool photos and river photos and everything like that, I think we should have a reasonable amount that will fit that bill from almost everyone. There are some lucky people, and we do have plenty of entrants in UPY who are maybe photo pros in dive resorts or even photo pros on liverboards. Their backyard is a little different for everyone else's, and that's going to be eligible too. But I have to say, when it comes to choosing the overall winner, we may be slightly biased of that award. We may be slightly biased against the person who maybe their backyard is Missoul Eco Resort House Reef. It seems a little bit, not quite what we're after if they happen to be living there. So we will, but we'll definitely still highlight those pictures. But we'll decide exactly how we judge it. If the best picture is a clear standout and it's taken by someone who lives on a liverboard and it was taken underneath their liverboard in Galapagos, then so be it. But I suspect we'll go more towards a picture that represents what we're hoping to achieve with that award. The other big change we've made to UPY this year is we've decided to go completely prize-free in the competition. And I know that it's a very unusual move for a competition, but it's one we gave a lot of thought to. And most prizes in underwater photography competitions, certainly in UPY, come from the dive industry. And they particularly come from the travel side of the dive industry, from resorts, liverboards, travel companies. And anyone who's knows anything about anything this year is well aware that those companies have had a really tough time. There's been a lot of redundancies in that sector, resorts closing, dive staff, hotel staff being let go. And it doesn't seem the right time to be going to those companies and saying, oh, by the way, I know you've had to, put a lot of staff out of work, but we'd like a prize for our competition, please. And certainly the other underwater photographers, I spoke to through the summer when thinking about this, and obviously the UPY team as well, we just felt it was the right thing to do. So at the end of the summer, when we were beginning to get organized for UPY, we emailed all our prize sponsors and said, thank you for sponsoring us last year. We're going to leave your names on our website for this year as supporters of UPY, and we're going to run the competition this year without prizes. Some of the companies immediately wrote back and say, look, we budgeted for this already. We're very happy to give you a prize. And we were like, no, we don't want a prize from anyone, even if your business has actually boomed this year, as some of the equipment manufacturers and some of the local diving people have actually had bumper years. But actually said, no, we don't want to put pressure on anyone. And a lot of the travel partners wrote back to us and saying, thank you so much for thinking about us in this way. We really appreciate it. And a lot of the gear companies as well, they've said, yeah, it's been a tough year. We have had a lot of challenging times, and we really appreciate it. So I think, we see UPY as very much a competition that is run from the community for the community. And we see ourselves as part of that dive community. And now's the time to stand together with our friends and colleagues. So, it's a small thing we can do. I accept. Yeah, sorry.
I think the other thing, I think that's really important about this is UPY, the being judged against your peers and being winning or losing, I guess, that's what the competition process is really about. And whilst obviously prizes are an important motivating, or can be an important motivating, that's still very much there. To be amongst the winners of a competition like UPY is a tremendous achievement, and that achievement is not related to a prize. It simply is a great achievement. So this is an opportunity now to maybe be very pure about the way you enter your images that and look at it as a very pure thing. It's not being motivated by what you're going to win. It's being motivated by the idea of winning the competition. I think that's very cool. I think it's a good thing.
It's nice though to give out the prize. Last year we gave out 49 different prizes to different photographers in UPY, which was, I think was the most we've given away. And it was, I really like that side of it. And I would definitely want the prizes to be back in next year. Assuming, vaccines and quick testing and things make international travel not, convenient again, and the world begins to get going back to how it used to be in terms of the dive travel and the dive industry, maybe by the Northern Hemisphere spring, then, hopefully we'll be in a position that everyone's starting to be in a position that come next year's competition, we can be back to normal. But we'd like to be either a full roster of prizes or no prizes. I don't think we'd like to have, oh, we've got a lower prize fund this year. Yeah. It was easier just to be prize free. So I guess if we get slightly less entries, maybe it might give some different photographers a chance to see their names in lights.
Yep.
And it will be really interesting. You know, UPY is one of the few competitions that, you know, tells you exactly how many entries we get every year. So everyone will see whether there's been a drop in entries or not. Yep. That won't, if there is a drop, it won't just be related to no prizes, because obviously the lack of photographic possibilities this year for people is also going to affect the number of entries. But it will be interesting to see how it goes. So, but we feel it's very much the right decision.
I'm going to digress slightly, because I'm sure it's a question that people may be thinking or maybe going to ask. The Wetpixel Dive Photo Guide series competitions that we run every year, traditionally we're starting to solicit entries now, similar to UPY. And we took a decision actually entirely independent of what's happened this year, at the end of last year, that we were going to actually run our competitions over the summer. So and this was in many ways to try and deconflict some of the many competitions that often occur over a fairly similar period. So we've made this decision actually after the last competition, before the whole COVID thing had kicked off. So to say, you're not going to hear much about the Wetpixel Masters or Deep Indonesia until the spring next year, and obviously at that stage we'll we'll take a view at that point, depending on what the world's about at that point, as to how we run them. But I envisage a very similar situation to what Alex is talking about as well, where we may well be running it in a situation where we're not going to reach out to the industry for prizes, because it doesn't seem fair at the moment to do so. But that's not a firm decision. That's just an idea. But certainly, yeah. So you won't be hearing from us. We won't be soliciting entries at the moment, but we will be in the spring 2021, which brings me neatly on to or back to the all important question. Well, I've asked the most important question, but you didn't answer. Well, you did answer it. You answered it very well. When's the deadline for UPY, Alex?
So UPY is open now for entries, so you can go on, register, and do all that, and start uploading. The deadline is the 5th of January.
Right.
So basically, you know, it closes right at the beginning of 2021. Yep. We usually then meet up and do our judging within a day or two of the closing date. Yep. We normally wait a day, because the stress of getting the last entries in is knackering, because you know, just because everyone's panicking and you're getting like a million emails a day, and then we sort of wait 24 hours and then get together and try and judge it straight away, and it takes about 3 days to judge, just solidly working. With a normal number of entries, and then we start contact, and then we probably have another rest day, and then we start contacting the winners is the usual way. I have to say, you know, depending on lockdown rules, it might change a few things this year. You know, obviously right now we wouldn't be able to meet up to do the judging. And if we're in a situation that maybe there's like, oh, you'd be allowed to meet up in 2 weeks' time, but not now, we might delay the judging. So we've said to everyone with this year, you know, making any sort of prediction about timetables and things like that is not a fair game. So we intend to do things as we normally do, but if we have to adapt, we'll adapt.
And the judging panel, just to remind everyone, is yourself,
myself, Peter Rowlands, and Martin Edge. And I think I like the panel very much, because we've worked a lot together. We have very different tastes. Although, you know, from the outside we may not look a particularly diverse panel, in terms of taste, we're incredibly diverse. And I think the strength of UPY down the years, and the positive feedback that we get about the choices we've made in terms of the winners, and of course there's, you know, people are, oh, I don't like that particular one, or why isn't my one in? It's better than this one. You know, like any competition. But generally there's sort of a feeling from the community that the UPY collections are incredible collections of images. And I think while the judging's working, it's not something I want to fiddle around with and change too much. You know, there's plenty, you know, underwater photographers do have the other, you know, the odd competition out there if they want to enter. So I think actually there's almost an argument for having very consistent judging panels these days, because there's so many competitions. If there was only one competition out there, it might make sense to change the panel. Yep. But actually, when you bring new panels in and new judges in, you know, there's a lot for them to learn. They have to understand what the competition ethos is about, and it's not just, you know, and what we're trying to achieve with the collection and everything. And you spend so long sort of bringing another judge up to speed. about what it's going for. So yeah, so I'm very happy with that judging panel. And I have to say, I think for all three of us, if it wasn't that combination, we'd all question how much we'd want to be involved as judges. Yep. And I think if it does ever change, it might change completely, and it might be right. Here's 3 completely different judges. But I think 3 is a very good number, because too many judges, you end up with too many disparate decisions, yep. and it ends up being a collection of everyone's individual choices, as opposed to pictures that you've all discussed and agreed on. Yep. Too few, you don't get enough diversity of opinion. Yep. And 3, I think, is a very good number, because it gives everyone a real feeling of ownership of the collection as a judge, and a feeling of responsibility to actually make sure they properly agree with every decision, not, well, I'm just going to not listen for the next 20 minutes and then I'll make sure I just get my one. Yep. So I think it's good. I think too big a judging panel is a mistake. I don't think you should ever go, for a major competition smaller than 3. But once they get above 5, it just becomes, it's not a very robust system. So it's a good number.
Yeah, I agree. I quite agree. So this is a really good opportunity, possibly if you haven't been shooting as much this year as normal, to have a dig through your image files and see what you can find. I think this is, I think that yep. there probably are some gems out there that have never been seen, that hopefully will make it into the light this year, which is definitely
and usually with UPY we have a 3-year wall. Pictures have to have been taken within the last 3 years. Yep. This year, because of the fact some people have had less diving opportunity than normal, yep. we've extended that to a 5-year wall.
That's quite
so
important.
So you might have a picture that last year you couldn't enter because it was too old. Yep. You would actually get able to enter it this year.
Yeah, that's a
that's a temporary measure for this year. Because also people have had time to look through their archives, and I know I've processed loads of pictures from 5-10 years ago this summer, yep. When I haven't been diving. So yeah.
Yeah, great. So where can people get on to UPY and enter? What's the website?
So the website is underwaterphotographeroftheyear.com. The best thing to do when wanting to enter is look through the previous winners, which we publish these free PDF yearbooks each year. They're a great way to browse lots of pictures. Don't just look at the overall winners. Get a feel, look through the whole category of awarded pictures and get a feel for the types of pictures we look for and the diversity that we're trying to promote. I think that can really help you with your entry. It's not about aping the overall winner. It's very much about getting inspiration from the entire collection.
Yeah. So, given that the judges are the same, I think that's an important point. Given all the advice of trying to work out what the judges like, you have the opportunity to do that. So that's great news.
Yeah, seahorses, icebergs, all that sort of stuff.
Seahorses and icebergs. If you happen to have one in your backyard. Thank you, Alex, very much. Get your entries in. 5th of January is the cut-off. So thank you to CCAM for sponsoring this episode. I'd like to thank you all for watching. Please give it a like if you enjoyed it. Feel free to add any comments or suggestion in the comment section below. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you again soon.